If you want to make $1,000 a month from KDP, you don't need 1,000 books in order to do so. You just need a handful of winners and a strategy that works, and systems in place so that you can achieve a very achievable goal of making $1,000 on KDP. Now, most people approach Amazon KDP very randomly. They don't have a real strategy and they just hope for the best. Um, but if your goal is truly to achieve stable and consistent income and reach $1,000 a month, then this video is simply going to walk you through the blueprint that you need to follow in order to build a business that works for you and achieves this. Firstly, let's talk reality. Achieving $1,000 a month is very doable, but it's usually not from one book unless you're really lucky in the beginning. Not to say you can't achieve that, you can achieve that plus way more, but it's not realistic for a beginner. The reality is that it's usually a small amount of books that make up your catalogue that will drive you and to help you achieve $1,000 a month. Now, here is basically a breakdown of what that can look like depending on the strategy and the types of books you publish. Now, if you're going to do low content to medium content books, based on the price that you might sell it at, which might be $9.99, you might make a maximum of $2 to $3 from that book. Now, in order to make $1,000 from low content books that have $2 margins, you need 500 sales in total. For it to be achieved with just $3, you need 333 sales. If you were to move on to high content books, I've been really reserved with the margins. It can be way more than this, but let's just say for today's sake that it's $7, you need to achieve 142 sales. So how can we do this? Well, on the side here, you have two screenshots. You basically have a screenshot of the BSR calculator, and you can find different ones online. I found this, as you can see, it's from TCK Publishing, and basically it allows you to put in the BSR rank, which is the number that's always updated daily based on how well it's selling on Amazon. And the closer it is to zero, that means it's the best selling on Amazon. Now, a good number for us to kind of work by on a decently selling book is around 40,000. Like, that's what we want to achieve. But also, 100,000 may be something that is probably more likely achievable in the beginning, and also just gives you an understanding of if it wasn't to be as successful as you wanted it to be, then kind of how would that look like and how would that be translated in terms of sales. So as you can see here, a 40,000 BSR rank for paperback books equates to 112 sales a month. And for a 100,000 BSR rank, it equates to a 48 sales per month. Now let's say if you were to have a successful launch and you were to get lucky and to achieve 40,000 BSR in the beginning for some of your books, or through trial and error, eventually you get a catalogue of books where you get some that achieve the BSR of 40,000, which is what we want to aim for, and if not better. Then you need to, if you have a low content book, you need to achieve, with a $2 margin, you need to have around 5 books that are on a 40,000 BSR a month on average, consistently. If it's $3, you can see how it changes. You need 3 books, so 2 less. And then if it was $7 high content, you just really, if we just round it up for today's purpose sake, you need 1 book. So as you can see, the amount of books you do need, depending on the price margin of your book and the type of book you publish, as well as the BSR is able to achieve and the keyword and the niche that you publish in, determines kind of the maths of how many books you may need to publish. And then obviously if it's not as successful, and let's say is reaching on average 100,000 a month, then you can see that number doubles. So whereas it would have been 5, you need 10. if your margin is $2 a book. You then need six if it's $3, or you need two if it is $7. Um, and yeah, that's kind of how you'd work it out. Like, in order to achieve the number, you need to work backwards, and that's the best way. You need to understand the strategy that you want to follow, what the margins would be, and work from there. And that way, you're working towards something rather than just going through it blindly and hoping to achieve that number, but not really knowing how and when. So these are the five mistakes that kill momentum. And honestly, these are the things that if you can um, avoid it, because it's honestly not what you want to start building your business on, and that you don't want to develop habits like these. So if you can avoid them early on, this is amazing and will set you up for a lot of success later down the line. The first mistake is publishing in random niches. Now, obviously, you need to understand what works for you, but if you do the correct research, you should feel comfortable knowing that the niche you first get into, there's at least 2 to 3 books that have a demand that you can publish a series in the beginning to test out. Because basically, if you publish in random niches, you're basically resetting to zero every time with no brand, no momentum, and no repeat buyers. Um, so getting your research correct in the first time and the validation of your keyword and niche is really step one, that can ultimately make or break your business. The mistake number two that I see a lot is weak covers. Now, we already get an insight as to what covers are doing well, and we can understand that based on the bestsellers on the niche that you've chosen. And you have to understand that you're not going to get any sales if nobody clicks. You can have an amazing manuscript, an amazing book, but if nobody wants to click your cover, then no one will know if you have a great book or not. So this is a massive focus, and you can't really cut corners with your cover. Mistake number three is only using free tools and guessing. Um, Guessing keywords is like throwing darts in the dark. You don't need expensive everything, but you do need a research process, and understanding which tools work in which part of the process will honestly set you up um, for longevity in this business. Mistake number four is having no series strategy. So this kind of pulls into mistake number one, is having one of the books and not knowing that if you publish in this niche, do you have a few more other books and keywords you could ultimately publish in, and other audiences within that niche that you can cater for, and kind of looking in the future from the beginning will really set you up in such a good spot and have you avoiding to build from scratch at every book you publish, which can honestly build up resentment and demotivate you as well along the line. And then the final mistake is ignoring ads early. I understand that if you're not used to ads, it's such a scary thing, and it does take time to learn. But having that awareness, is key. But I think a lot of the bad advice out there, or maybe the miscommunication that you might feel based on other people that are doing well, is that you need a big budget. You don't. You just need to know the strategies of the ads, and you need to know that what the ads are doing, which is trying to show your book to as many people as possible and creating visibility to your book. Because if nobody sees your book, you're not going to get any sales, and it helps to prove to Amazon that your book can sell, so you can ultimately also get organic sales in the future. And ultimately, your ads do, once you have the right strategy in place with time, the cost of them versus the performance of what you get does decrease. So these are the five things that kill momentum and you need to avoid. Great. So what is the actual blueprint in achieving $1,000 a month? I've broken it down into 4 simple steps, and as long as you follow this every time you go from ideation to publishing with each book, you'll be good. And just understand that each time you need to practice in order to get better at something, and that goes with anything, and that's the aim of the game. As long as you try in the beginning to follow what you're taught and what you find, all the information out there, you won't know until you've done it yourself what works for you. And there's always nuances to this. Some things work for other people, but you're going to find your rhythm. Just trust the process. So the first thing is picking an evergreen niche, one to two. And this is going to be based on the initial research that you do. You'll pick two evergreen niches that have 3 to 4 keywords that have that you validated, that you know has demand, that you could imagine publishing and see yourself publishing a series of books in there. The next is quality rules. You need to make sure that you do your correct research and you have a competitive cover, because there's no point having a great book, doing everything correctly, if you don't have a book that people click on. You need to ace that cover, make sure you have a competitive cover with a unique advantage amongst the other sellers out there, as well as a great book, which will give Amazon the data it needs once you do get sales that is worth to be shown continuously, and it will make Amazon sales with great positive reviews. Um, and then the next is launching ads. I have created a video which goes into depth and it's great for it's a beginner friendly Amazon ad setup for when you're having a book launch. But it's basically doing sponsored product ads between broad keywords and auto keywords at a budget that suits your needs and where you're at and what you're happy to spend currently. And then optimizing that with time and hopefully scaling that based on the sales you get from the book. And then the last is doubling down. It's as simple as that. What worked, what didn't, and doubling down on what did, and learning from your mistakes of what didn't work. And if you follow this setup, you'll honestly be good, and you'll only get better with each book that you publish. So, what will your 30 to 60 to 90-day plan look like? This is what it should look like. You need to start off with the niche, selection and research, and then finding keywords within that. So you have a solid plan of what that looks like. So actually, if you plan ahead, your main concern really is just ensuring that you get everything after that point correct. So really, it's just really focusing hard on this part for, I would say, about 1 to 2 weeks. You really want to get this, spend as much time as you can doing that. Obviously, if you have a full-time job, your 30 to 60, 90-day plan might be a bit different because you have less time in the day. But if you can at least spend a few hours a day, then you're good. And then I would give that 1 to 2 weeks, so that you really just gathered all of the data possible, done all of the analysis, and can be 100% sure what niches you're going to get into and what keywords you're going to publish in. Then the next 1 to 2 weeks would be book creation. So whether you get a freelancer to create that or you use AI to help assist you, it is the book creation, and that includes from the book outline, so gathering your competitors' table of contents, as well as as well as the good and bad reviews for all of your top competitive books. And then creating an outline that serves your audience and does better than your competitors have and finds the missing gap. And then using AI to help you outline what the table of contents will be based on that information, and then using AI or a freelancer to help you build that out. And then no matter what way you went, whether you used AI or a freelancer to help you build out that book, it would be getting a book editor to either humanize it or to obviously improve the grammatical and all of the things that it needs to improve to make sure that the contents of it flows nicely, as well as book formatting your book so you can get the manuscript finalized. Now, by week 5, so approaching the 30 days, you want to have been gathering reviews on the review sites like Gemsy, Book Bounty. You want to have had reviewed other people's books, so you would have collected points. So by the time your book is published, you have enough points there to redeem to be able to gather reviews once your book is published. But you could be focusing on that whilst you're waiting for your book to be created, as well as your cover. And then you want to hit publish. So you would have had your manuscript and your cover ready, you would have gathered all of the reviews, and now you've hit published. And then this is the time to obviously do the free promotion to gain traction on Amazon, as well as to gather the reviews, the verified reviews and non-verified for your book. And then once you have gained a minimum of 20 reviews, obviously you don't want to stop there, but now is the time you can launch your ads to ultimately gather data to understand what works for you. And if you want a video of how to start that, I have a video breaking down that's perfect for beginners. 2 types of ads that you need to run in order to help set your book up for success once it's launched. And then following from that, give it, I think, 2 to 3 weeks before you start making big optimizations to your ads. And then it's a matter of scaling. So what does scaling mean? It means just rinsing and repeating what worked, doubling down on the winners, understanding what you could have improved on. And having done this process once, you'll be able to go into the next book way more confident, having lessons that you've learned along the way to improve that. And you just continue this until you've reached your goal of $1,000. It really is that simple. The last thing is the tools that you might need. And here is just a snapshot, but I'll include the link below of tools that will help you along the journey and are perfect for beginners, including the best AI tool for beginners, as well as the review site for your review points, as well as a freelancer site that has beginner friendly budgets. And Canva, which is great for A+ content or designing ads for Amazon. And the DS Amazon Quick View, which is great for your research to understand the BSR at a first glance. So I hope that is everything, and you were able to gain some new insights on this, or at least if it helped you motivate you to continue on your journey in achieving $1,000 a month on KDP. And if this type of content interests you, I hope you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.